Welcome to Binge Theory, the coolest corner on the internet. I'm Julian, and today we have Logan.
Hello.
And Eric.
Hi.
Hey, and today we're going to be discussing, because it's a Halloween-themed show, we're going to be touching base on a movie that each one of us picked that we think embodies the mood of this Halloween. Doesn't necessarily have to be horror or terror genre, but it's just a movie that comes to mind during this holiday season. And we're also going to be having some surprise content on the second part of this two-part episode. So be sure and stay tuned. Gentlemen, I will start off by saying Happy Halloween, or Happy Harvest, or whatever pagan ritualistic holidays you celebrate. And that being said, who wants to go first? I'll go last because I have a backup just in case we've done a double selection like we did last time. Logan, you will go first.
Sure, I could take it away. So, Halloween and all, keeping that in mind. And it's funny because I hadn't actually thought about this movie for a while, but it just kind of stuck with me when we had this topic. And I'll introduce it by the probably most famous quote from it that I know you're all going to know.
Uh-oh.
And it's, "I see dead people." So I'm going to call out Sixth Sense on this one, I think. Just how it was still kind of at the height of that, M. Night Shyamalan rise to fame before it needed a little break. And it just, it was a well-done movie. Bruce Willis just, he's an interesting actor. He is able to rise to the occasion of whatever movie he's in, whether it's this, C-level right to, TV, or just huge blockbuster. Like, he just meets it where it's at and is able to pull anything off that he ends up getting into. And this movie was no different. And then going back and I remember we watched it and then had to rewatch it the next night while we still had it rented, just to see oh, he didn't actually touch anything. He really was dead. I like all the things where it was so smooth and so just expertly done, that it really kind of stuck with me. And came up first to mind when we thought of Halloween.
Good pick. I mean, to your point, I think Bruce Willis rises and falls based on the caliber of the film he's in. I would reference the blockbuster film he did with Tracy Morgan. I think it was called something Cops or something. I forget the name, so that tells you how much that movie was. And let's not forget Toni Collette was also in it. She played the mother of Hallie Joel Osment. And
right.
And again, Hallie Joel Osment was a phenomenal child actor.
Mm-hmm.
Going from, he did 3 that I remember as a child. He did AI, from Steven Spielberg, obviously Forrest Gump's son, and of course the child that sees dead people. You're right. That was at I think the pinnacle of M. Night Shyamalan's filmmaking set back in the day.
Yeah.
And it was one of those ones that makes you rewatch it because you have to, put on a new set of eyes and enjoy that. Good call. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, no, I thought that was a great movie. I recently, watched the third one, and in preparation for that, I went back and watched the first 2, of the trilogy. And I'm thinking of the right movie, right? Yeah. Anyway, and Sixth Sense was.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't think you're thinking of the right one. What trilogy? What movie are you talking?
You're talking about the Sixth Sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, am I mixing things up? Aren't there? Didn't they do Unbroken after that?
Oh no, you're thinking of Unbreakable,
Unbreakable.
and then they did with McAvoy.
Yep.
Oh, geez, dementia's killing me.
Yeah.
And
Samuel Jackson.
yeah. No, that was, but no.
Am I mixed up? I thought that was the first one.
No. Unbreakable was the first one. The second one was with McAvoy about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and
That was
You got
Split,
me,
I think,
okay.
right?
come on, help me
All
out.
right.
Help me out here,
Okay.
Logan.
Well, that was definitely organic.
No, absolutely. It's with McAvoy, and also it starred what's her name from The Witch, Anya Taylor-Joy. I want to
Split.
say
Yeah.
I think it was Split.
Split. Thank you, Split.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Split, and then
Right.
And then the last one was Glass.
boom.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Okay.
they're all,
My bad.
it's the same
My
universe.
bad. It's been a long time.
Well, no, it can't be the same universe. I'm sorry. It's Bruce Willis. Yeah, he is
Yeah, same lead actor.
same lead actor and director.
Mhm.
So completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
which
Okay,
one
so
Now that we're back,
yeah, so Sixth Sense is a little foggy then for me. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
Yeah, that was
And,
almost
That's
2000.
been a really tough day at work. So.
Sixth Sense was 1999.
Almost
Yeah.
2000. Right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And Eric, which one did you pick? I'm sorry, we got distracted.
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't sure what I would pick, as so I started kind of picking around the internet and trying to think of Halloween movies and Halloween related movies, and I realized that a lot of the movies that I like are kind of related to Halloween anyway. I'll just give a couple off the top of my head before I tell you what my pick was.
Honorable mention.
Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters was a good one. Nightmare Before Christmas. That ranks, right up there. That's one of my favorites. The Shining, is also kind of a scary movie, but I'm definitely a fan of Kubrick, so that ranks up there. But I'm going to give my pick to Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh.
Directed by Coppola, with Gary Oldman as Dracula, Keanu Reeves as the lawyer. Is it Harkins? Is that his name?
I think
Who knows?
I think his name was Horrible. That's the name I gave him. When I saw it, I said, Keanu, you're horrible.
Horrible. Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, at the time that the movie came out, I didn't have my tastes weren't as refined as they might be now as an older man, and so this is really my first kind of introduction into Dracula, but taken seriously, not like Sesame Street Dracula, And to see this really well-directed movie with Gary Oldman in an incredible performance, to me that was pretty good. It didn't take me until way later on in life to actually read the book. I had talked with my boss, and he said the book is phenomenal. You should read it. And I do not read many books, but I read this one, and I really enjoyed it. So much that I could see myself reading that same book again. It's so rich with like the environment that these people were in back then, and the streets of London, how mysterious Transylvania was, how you didn't really know what the capabilities of this creature were, or what was, it's just such an interesting character. And, the novel that was written, it was just fantastic. And the movie, I felt, at least did it a little bit of justice, So that's my pick.
No,
Good one.
great pick. And, Winona Ryder was his,
Right.
star-crossed lover. And
Nina, right?
Yep, there you go. And let's not forget Sir Anthony Hopkins was in it as well as the vampire hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know who it was? And it didn't even just dawn on me until now. He was Van Helsing. And I just checked out his name is in the character roster, Dr. Abraham Van Helsing. So he was like Van Helsing. I guess I'm more attuned to the Hugh Jackman Van Helsing, which was horrible. Yeah. But yeah, to your point, that was kind of the first. Well, not the first, but the one in a long while that kind of gave you that grounded, dark Dracula. I mean, the other one came out back in the 60s. No, the 70s, early 70s, I think. And I forget his name. All I remember is that he played Count Dooku, I think, in the Star Wars franchise. And again, that's some Google.
Christopher Lee.
Was he?
Was it Lee?
Yeah. Oh, he might have been in the 60s one because there were a few Draculas, and I do believe that back in the 60s or 70s, the first Dracula was Count Dooku. And, and you guys can Google and spot check me on that. But
talking about Lugosi?
No. That's that's the 40s. I'm talking about like just like the 60s or 70s. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Gary Oldman, he can do no wrong in my mind. I mean, everything he ever addresses, he knocks it out of the park. I mean, again, one of my favorite films, The Professional. All he played was like a drug-addled cop or another version of the Bad Lieutenant. And to me, he was one of the most terrifying characters ever. And then he also plays, if you're into Quentin Tarantino fare, he was Drexel in True Romance. And of course, in Hannibal, he played the villain in that, going against Anthony Hopkins. So there you go, full circle. Yeah. It's probably the same universe, and there you go.
He is fantastic.
Great pick, and I'm busting Keanu's chops. I honestly, that character was probably supposed to be a little naive and two-dimensional, just a pretty young boy character. So he did what he did, but I mean, my God, that accent. I don't know what they were thinking. And I'm sure I would have done much better if I was cast in that film. But yeah, him and Kevin Costner should just never be European. I think that's what I learned from that. Tom Waits was also in it. I'm just looking at the list right here.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. Who was Tom Waits? He was Renfield, which makes perfect sense because he always plays that like kind of creepy. But you know what? That was so long ago. He looked so young back then. It's and you know what? I got to watch that again. That's a good call because for some reason I thought Renfield had a British accent. He seemed very British, and Tom Waits is like a Detroit rocker. Very very un-European. So I got to see that. That was a great one. And again, you're right. Putting it in the hands of Francis Ford Coppola, doing something so kind of mainstream, that is a rarity. And I mean, after his obvious successes with The Godfather, this was a good one. And I did like the whole take on it, not being just a monster, but a kind of like a star-crossed lover, ode to undying love. it was, but very dark. It was that's a good one. That is definitely a good pick.
Just as a finishing note on that subject, I'm actually reading the graphic novel of Dracula right now. It's done by an artist by the name of Mike Mignola, who's a very famous comic book artist. But it's a full graphic novel on Dracula, and it's the same story, but it's very, very well done. So I'll just put that little tidbit out there for the Dracula freaks if you want to read something before Halloween.
No, yeah, absolutely. And Logan, I'm sorry, did you have thoughts on the Dracula? I think I just steamrolled the conversation with my Gary Oldman.
No, actually, that was a great one. I've seen a number of incarnations, obviously, of Dracula in different ways. I know I've seen parts of that one. I don't think I've seen it all the way through. The Christopher Lee one, I remember vaguely. I know I've seen that one. Just when, just late night, what do they call it here? Comet TV, I think, is the HD TV channel that just shows all the sci-fi and horror and fantasy type stuff. But no, that was definitely a great choice.
Yeah, and you know what? It may be Christopher Lee that I'm thinking about.
It was definitely Christopher Lee in the 70s version.
Gotcha. Then that's it. Yeah, that's the one. And and he didn't play. Was he Dooku?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. All right. So I'm not totally off on my my base. Okay. Well, I'd like to give some honorable mention. Eric, you mentioned some obvious, great films for the Halloween season, and I'd like to, dovetail on that with some recommendations. Obviously, if you're going, you went the Kubrick route. I'm going to go kind of the pulpy 1980s, genre of horror film, Nightmare on Elm Street, which and this is not my pick. This is just some honorable mentions. When it came out, it was so of its time and in new and an interesting take, and the whole premise that it's in your dreams, that I don't think has really been, pursued. I know there's films that deal with, horror in a cerebral sense, but the fact that anytime you fall asleep, it will come and get you. I thought that was just a really unique take. And of course, Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger was, just iconic. And kind of also finding that balance with the sarcastic humor and the play and a lot of play on words, which was really cheesy, but it just fit the character. And another one that I was obviously a fan of was, and this is of course a classic. It was kind of almost going to be my pick, but it's almost a little too obvious. The Exorcist, especially the re-release where there's footage that was never seen before because it was too controversial. And I live in the DC area, so I've been to the Exorcist house and the Exorcist stairs. And yeah, that whole place when it's foggy, and it does get foggy there because it's right off the Potomac River. It's a creep fest. It's nightmare fuel, all of that. And it's just that movie and movies like that back in the late 60s, early 70s, where they didn't have a lot of special effects. It was all practical effects and, just trick photography. And I really appreciated that they made you do the slow burn back then. It was definitely Reagan was getting sicker and sicker until she's full blown demonic possessed. And a lot of if you look back at it now, you can, it doesn't age amazingly well, but there's a lot of nice little scenes that you can spot where they throw in little things that were triggers back in the day, like little flashes of the Captain Howdy, the demon. And again, it's literally just a face with the makeup on it. But at the time, it was one of the most horrific things you'd ever seen. And my final honorable mention is Amityville Horror, and that is very close, to the Exorcist, but that starred what's his name? Josh Brolin's dad, married to Barbara Streisand. It was a very good film, and also Lois Lane. Geez, I'm just going to say the characters that they played in movies. Margot Kidder. It was Margot Kidder and something Brolin. Because it's Josh Brolin's dad. Great film, again, about similar with The Shining, the descent into madness, where you're starting off with a family and all of a sudden by the end you're wielding an axe. Matter of fact, I would dare to say that Amityville Horror is a combination of The Shining and The Exorcist. I mean, literally they went to the point where they're both swinging axes. So there you go. Or maybe it's just a ripoff of The Exorcist. But anyway, I always appreciate the original version, and then they slowly start to feed other films that they see that film and they're like, ooh, let's do more of that. And of course, the studios, once they see something makes money, it's just put it into the money making machine and crank out lesser versions of it. But still, Amityville Horror I really appreciated because it was of its time, and so that's my honorable mention.
Yeah,
now,
I think that's the harder thing to do contemporarily, to be able to see the first of one that they just start mass producing. The first Final Destination. The first Scream, the first one of those, and to really appreciate after the fact how maybe not groundbreaking considering the movies that they were, but just how much that was kind of a unique experience at the time to start, but with how much it's been just copied ad nauseum, it makes it more difficult to go back and appreciate that, semi-original.
Yeah, absolutely. And only because you brought that up, I'll throw in one little honorable mention that sparked an entire slew of copycat or genre films because it defined the genre. Blair Witch. Blair Witch Project,
Yes.
Very shoestring budget, and when it came out, this was before the internet. There was a time before the internet, and the entire premise is that this was found footage of people that went camping in Maryland, hiking in Maryland to investigate a Blair Witch, and apparently something horrific happened to them, and nobody knows, but they found the footage, and they put together the footage, and again, you don't see anything, but to me, that was one of the things that made it most terrifying, is because you could imagine whatever the witch was or whatever they were being haunted by. And that was more of a psychological terror than an actual visual terror. And I love that it came out probably 93, 94. And it still, I saw it probably like a couple of years ago, and it still just, holds up. I'm sure if a new generation saw it, it may not resonate with them, but I still just appreciate the craft that went into making something so low budget, but impactful. And of course, all the found footage films that followed, Paranormal Activities and so on and so forth. So
Cloverfield.
Thank you. Yeah. The whole shaky cam thing. And I guess now that everybody has a iPhone, that should be a whole new series of found footage. I know they're experimenting with a little of that stuff using webcams and things like that.
Shudder just had, and the kind of the horror streaming platform had an exclusive movie that was all through Zoom. And I know I felt the same way, but it has gotten some absolutely stellar reviews.
Well crafted. You can make a film out of any. I mean, and there was one that starred, and I feel bad that I forget his name, but he was in Harold and Kumar, and he was also Takara Sulu in Star Trek.
Oh,
come on, Logan. Come on, it's right there.
John Cho.
Boom, there you go. And just to completely just keep spiraling into different subject matters. He is going to be playing, and when quarantine's over and we're back to the movie making business, he is casted to be in the Cowboy Bebop movie.
Yes.
And it's going to be, I'm going to make a prediction, it is going to be a glorious failure of epic proportion. You cannot make an anime movie well. It can't be done. Give up. Try something else. Money grab. It's going to be a failure. Mark my words. That's what's going to happen. Just like Ghost in the Shell, just like Dragon Ball Z, it's not going to work unless somebody has an example of a anime movie that has been a success. And I'm sorry, Dragon Ball Z, that was trash as well.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you had James Marsters as no. There was so much more wrong with that film before even getting there. And it wasn't even Dragon Ball Z, it was Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because apparently Dragon Ball Z was such a coined phrase in America.
Look, I mean, there's the thing is that yes, it's hard to, nobody has done it right yet that I'm aware of. There have been some close ones, but it's been more in the lines of smaller budget Japanese productions that have been more faithful to the characters and the story rather than the, epic production quality of a modern blockbuster. But yeah, I would like to hope that something eventually is going to come along and break the mold, and there's going to be a Kevin Feige of anime films somewhere out there, and I am just hopeful that I will see it in my lifetime.
Yeah, don't hope for that, Logan. It's just you're setting yourself up for a white whale that's never going to happen.
Wouldn't be the first.
I'll tell you this, because I've seen Japanese iterations of classic anime. The Full Metal Alchemist. They had one, and it's never there. It's either really true to the story and looks like trash, or they depart from it to try and Hollywood it up, and it looks like trash. I remember we were all really excited, and I know this is completely off the Hollywood train, but there's no rules here. So the closest and the most excited everybody got was for Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson. And because Ghost in the Shell was just so epic, and the visuals and the fluid motion and all that, and the future cyberpunk kind of a style. And then you saw the trailer, and the trailer was taking scenes from the actual anime, and you're just like, yeah, it looks like they got it. A little bit of whitewashing with Scarlett Johansson, but it's a body, it's a sleeve. It doesn't really, it can be any ethnicity. So give it that, even though I guess at the time it was just probably poorly timed, to have an American playing a technically Japanese character.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I think that's part of I think that's always going to be part of the challenge. If you're trying to translate Japanese animation into, first of all, English, and then second of all, to present it to an international audience, the Japanese culture is very closed, right? They write African Americans in a certain way. They
100%.
write women in a certain way. They write, homosexuals in a certain way. And to try to take that off of paper and put that on the screen, it's just going to look ridiculous in so many cases, I'm reading a manga right now where there really wouldn't be too much cultural danger there. It's this manga called Ping Pong, and it's basically you've got Japanese kids, and then there's like a couple Chinese kids that come over from China, and so they could probably pull that off. But again, it's the subject matter. I mean, I don't know who really cares about ping pong championships. Anyway,
I
but
think
I just want to give my perspective because the Japanese like to write. They like to pull in a lot of different racial characters into their stories, but just write them like the way they want to write them.
well, and to your point, I think they are. I would say they're more caricatures than
Or
characters.
stereotypes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh no, no. Trust me. I've rarely ever seen African Americans represented in a glorious fashion. It's yeah, you wouldn't get away with a lot of that stuff in the 2020 American era.
Right.
But to that, and I'm sorry, there's also another one that's in the docket, Logan. You can get your hopes up to be totally dashed on this.
Right.
The only thing that gives me hope is the director.
Okay.
Now, and also speaking of directors, let's not forget M. Night Shyamalan again tried and failed miserably with Avatar. Completely whiffed on that one. And again, this is a skilled director. Matter of fact, I think that kind of caused him to go into that Obi-Wan Kenobi style.
Did you say Avatar?
Yeah.
James Cameron.
No, The Last Airbender.
I'm sorry, not yet.
Okay.
Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah, I'm sorry,
gotcha.
not the Blue Monkey Dances with Wolves.
Gotcha.
This is horrible.
Continue. Sorry.
Yes. No, you're right, and I can't wait for those ones to come out. The new ones he's coming out with. Yeah, I'm sure
excited for the next 4.
Well, and again, I get that maybe, but there was an interest in that. And I just don't see that interest. I mean, I may have checked it out, but because it's mostly special effects and the story was kind of just very generic, what are you going to do to top that level of special effects? I mean, sure, I'm playing script doctor here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they'll make it more underwater based. Yeah, there's going to be underwater avatars and maybe space avatars. It's basically going to be like Fast and the Furious, where they take the same story and they just put it in different environments or introduce different characters. I don't see him really stretching the boundaries on storytelling with, alien monkeys. I'm sorry.
I mean, the biggest thing about that back when it was I think it was one of the first films that had the 3D done properly. So that was kind of an experience. Certainly the IMAX 3D version of it. And it was one of the first ones that at least I could remember where you actually were able to have an emotional response to these big blue aliens as if they were real people that, and alongside real humans. Certainly you can, have whatever emotional response with, cartoons or animation or things like that because they're representing people or characters. But to actually have it, side by side with actual humans, that kind of broke a barrier there. And I think you're right. We've seen so much more. I mean, so many more films take advantage of that. How much is that still going to be the driving force to empower the next 4 sequels to the levels of success they hope it will be?
Right, and you're 100% right. When that came out, just like when Terminator 2 came out, groundbreaking special effects. It was just a showcase of things we've never seen before. The mocap for Avatar was, on a level that, I had never experienced. And again, it was just great filmmaking, but it was just a really two-dimensional story. But again, give credit where credit is due. He brought something new to the table. I just think he had so much money and backing that he was and imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's not a small feat to pull off what he did with that scale. I'm sure that's why he had such no-name actors pretty much in there, so we could have focused most of the budget on who was the biggest star, Sigourney Weaver.
Probably.
I think it's a one-hit wonder. It's a one-hit wonder. I mean, I recall leaving the theater, and yes, I was amazed. But I also went through this period where, like, my eyes, like, they had, and my brain, like, had to readjust to, like, reality before the movie started and after. And like you said, the story was sort of subpar anyway. I'll just offer this. I think the the kind of effects that Christopher Nolan offers when he uses the IMAX camera on screen, to me, that is where we should be going as far as these spectacles on the screen. Those shots that he pulls off and blending that into the standard like film format, I think is such a technical masterpiece. That I as a film geek super way appreciate that, you know, and I want to see that going forward.
You know, that it's funny, they're almost opposite sides of the same coin, because Christopher Nolan has these utterly complex storylines that nobody can follow, and James Cameron has literally, Marines going to Monkey Land. Well, I'm sorry, what was it? Eritrea? What was the name of the place?
Pandora.
Pandora, and they try to
the jewelry store.
Yes, exactly, and they try to obtain unobtainium. That's just lazy writing. So you're 100% right. Christopher Nolan. But again, I think I said in one of our last earlier episodes, is that he has a time fetish, and I'm just done with it. I get it. You can shoot things out of sequence. Good for you. You don't have to do it all the time. Stop it, Christopher. We know how time works.
No pun intended.
Exactly. It's about time he stopped messing with this. Pun.
So, Julian, your pick was Exorcist?
No, not at all. I completely didn't even get to my choice.
Okay, that's so good.
Yes.
I just want to bring it back for a moment here.
Yes.
Let's hear Julian's pick.
I'm going to reel it in, and all right, I'm going to in post edit. I'm going to add a drum roll, because this is very important what I'm about to do. It's more important than anything that's going on in the world right now. The pick that I give for my Halloween film this year, not the favorite, just the one that I appreciate right now, is Hereditary. And Eric and I actually saw Hereditary together way back in the day when there were these things called theaters. And we had to talk about it. And again, Eric, remember, we actually had to, I was pulling up stuff on the internet afterwards because I had no expectations. The trailer looked phenomenal. A24, all the trailers look phenomenal. But went in there, and there were some things I saw that I can't unsee. And
this is the one with Natalie Portman, right?
No. This is the one with Toni Collette, bringing it back to Sixth Sense. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Gotcha. Yes, that was quite the film. Yeah. Okay.
Now, Logan, have you seen Hereditary?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I don't think you will. It's
probably not.
It's unsettling. And again, there are films that are horror and terror and adrenaline pumping, and then there are films that literally just make you question, your place in the universe and everything that's happening. If I can give you the gist, it's basically Toni Collette has a daughter and a son and a husband played by Gabriel Byrne. The son is played by Alex Wolff, and the daughter is played by Mallory Bichelle. And the daughter's very odd, kind of an off the mark kind of a child. And there's a death in the family. Toni Collette's mother passes away. And, at the funeral, she starts to learn things about her, and it slowly devolves into this kind of a cult-like situation. But it's not just a cult. There is supernatural stuff that starts happening, and the scenes are shot very well paced. The acting is phenomenal. If you go on Google and look up Toni Collette, Hereditary, there's a scene where she is berating her son, and it's like right out of a Marriage Story or something. It's just one of those really intense moments, and she just knocks it out of the ballpark. That, on top of the fact that there's just some very disturbing imagery. I don't want to give away the spoilers. I want people to go see it. But Eric and I, when we saw it, and all I got to say is the scene where she has the allergic reaction, there's a lot of stuff that is just not suitable for sane people to see. But that is my pick.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and you know I want to just do a quick break and then come back for the second segment. It will be a short one because I know we're running long on time. But again, those were our picks. Feel free to comment. Let us know your picks out there. You know, if you have a special Halloween film that you like and that you think we should talk about, feel free to bring it up. You know, maybe we'll bring it in a future episode, or we'll add it to the roster for next year. You know, if we're all still around. Okay, and like I said, we're going to do a small intermission, so you can go get your coffee, go to the restroom, drink your coffee in the restroom, whatever your thing is. You know, we don't judge here, but hold on and come back. We'll be back shortly.